Good morning, Villages community. How are you doing? As you can see, I still have my snowmen and my stockings hung by the chimney with care, and my tree. It's not lit up right now. So yeah, I'm living this Christmas life longer than normal. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Sorry about all the wiggles and such. Hello, Mom. How are you? I'm finally getting my video in here. We had a very restful day yesterday and had church last night, and it was great. But today I want to share what I really feel like the Lord's speaking to our hearts today. And we're continuing to talk about goals. We talked about how at the beginning of the year we tend to set resolutions that we never resolve to fully meet, and they always fall to the wayside. And so I want to set goals this year, goals for 2016. And I don't want it to just be something that falls to the wayside that we do not stick with, but something that we actually accomplish. And so last week we talked about what are setting guardrails to keep us from falling off of the wagon, so to speak. And the guardrails tend to be guarding our heart from fear and anxiety. And we looked at Luke chapter 12, verses 22 through 34. Today I want to continue in that passage starting with verse 35, because I believe that to continue to pursue our goals and to actually accomplish them, and these goals have to first of all be set by God, and so we have to seek Him, and when we seek Him we will find Him when we seek Him with all of our heart. And at the end of the passage that we read last week, and this was the memory verse for our girls, and they actually memorized it. It was Luke 12:34, and it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So when you're seeking God, your heart will be with Him, and that is where your treasure is. And so you're going to see your goals come to fruition because your goals are established and rooted and come from Him. But what does it look like when you encounter anxiety? You know, we learned anxiety, fear, all of that is not from God. Why do we worry? Because He's our provider. He is the one that is our source for all things. So if we have those guardrails up and we are guarding our hearts because they're resting in Him, then what are we doing in the meantime? And I want to talk about today rest on the ready. You see, because God wants us to be rested. That's why He's commanded that we take a Sabbath. That's why, from the beginning of time, even He took a Sabbath when He created all things. He believes in rest, and that's something that we struggle with. But what does it mean to rest? And does that mean that we're not ready to serve whenever He calls? And so we're going to start reading in Luke chapter 12, verse 35. And Jesus says this, "Be ready for service and have your lamps lit. You must be like people waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can open the door for him at once. Those slaves the master will find alert when he comes will be blessed. I assure you, he will get ready. Have them recline at the table, then come and serve them. If he comes in the middle of the night or even near dawn and finds them alert, those slaves are blessed. But know this, if the homeowner had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also be ready, because the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect." You see, we have to rest on the ready. That doesn't mean that we cannot relax. Like I said, that God has created the Sabbath. He knows that humanity needs rest. We are not God. We are God's. And so we need to be rested so that we can be ready to be used by Him at any time, at any point. And if we aren't ready, then we're going to miss out. And the amazing thing is, yes, we serve God, the creator of the universe, but He longs to serve us. And He serves those that are ready and willing and able and rested. So we need to rest on the ready. So look here in, this is kind of hard to do, but Luke chapter 12, verse 35 through 40. And I want you to reflect on that through the week, but I don't want to end there because we've talked a little bit about rest and we've talked about the Sabbath, but there's something that Jesus says in Matthew chapter 11 that I think is very important. When we're talking about rest, we're not just talking about the Sabbath. We're not just talking about a command that we must follow, but we're talking about resting in Jesus. You see, because it's important for us to rest physically and emotionally and spiritually also. And when we rest, are we resting in Him, in Jesus, or are we resting from the toil of our own energy and our own labor? You see, because resting in Jesus allows us to not just take a break from our energies being depleted, but it allows us to be re-energized so that even when we are at work, even when we are serving, we can constantly be fueled, and we won't be that. So often we do things for God, but we tend to do them apart from Him. Every good thing that we can do isn't the best thing for us to do, because God has specific things for specific people to do at specific times. And if you're doing a good thing that God doesn't have for you to do, not only are you not exactly in the best place for you to be, but you also are in a place that someone else is supposed to be standing. And so you're not getting the best that God has for you, and you are a roadblock. You are a block of somebody else not just receiving, but exercising their gifting in the best way that God has for them. And so it's important that we rest in Jesus, and as we serve, that we're serving in Jesus as well. So if we don't rest in Him, then we're not going to be serving in Him, because that is where we get our energy. That's where it's all kind of like the circle of life. It's all interconnected, and it flows into another and flows out of another, and it's cyclical. And you can't compartmentalize God. You can't compartmentalize Jesus in your life. He has to be the life source of every part. So you rest on the ready. You be ready to serve at any moment, at any time, but you also be rested, because when you are resting in the ready, then you are not just being re-energized, but you're also waiting for your marching orders. And Jesus says this in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. All of you, take up my yoke and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." You see, Jesus says here that we need to rest in Him, but He does not say that that means that we don't have work to do. He does not say that it's going to be easy. He says that my yoke, my work, is easy and my burden is light. So He's saying, yeah, there's work to be done, and there is a burden that you are going to carry, but I am your strength. I am your source. I am your life. And so allow Jesus to be that in your life. The amazing thing about God is that He loves us. He created us in His image. He created us for good things. But we get to choose Him. He's not going to force us to follow. He is not going to twist our arms. He is not going to disable our ability to choose to follow Him. We are enabled to make a choice. You can be a follower or you can be a runner. You can be a follower or you can be a deserter. The choice is yours. But there is rest for you. And we need to rest in the ready. And the only way we can do that is when we are following Jesus. When we are choosing to be in Him and find our strength and our source from Him. And so I want that to be your prayer this week. I want you to reflect on Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30. I want you to reflect on Luke chapter 12, and just allow yourself to rest in the ready, accomplish the goals that God has set for you. but rest in Jesus and allow Him to be the source and the strength for you instead of trying to do it on your own, because in and of ourselves we're not able to accomplish God-sized dreams. But when we trust in Him, when we rest in Him, when we get re-energized and we allow His strength to supersede our inaccuracies and inabilities, then we will see our goals become reality. We will see God's dreams come to pass in our life. I believe that for you, I believe that for me, and I believe that we will continue to see these goals accomplished that God has entrusted to us as we rest on the ready, as we have our guardrails from falling off the wagon, and we see God do the impossible, making the impossible possible through Him. Because when we are weak, He is strong. We just have to rest in the ready. And so this week, reflect on those scriptures. I would encourage you, please, to email us. Go to our website, feedavillage.com, and send us an email. You can go to contact us. Let us know how we can be praying with you. Also, I want to encourage you to exercise generosity according to what the Holy Spirit is speaking to you. Know that God accomplishes His works in this world through us. And so we need to know what He is speaking to us, and we need to exercise that even if it takes us out of our comfort zone. And if we aren't being challenged to go out of our comfort zone, I challenge us to go back and listen again, because it's out of our comfort zone that we grow to new spaces and new places in Him. So you can exercise generosity in new and uncomfortable but powerful ways by going to feedavillage.com /give. feedavillage.com /give, and see God do amazing things in your life. I'll see you again next week. I hope this is the best week of your life. I look forward to hearing how God turns impossibilities into everyday possibilities in your life this week. Have a wonderful day. Love you all. Bye-bye.